The greatness of Rome. Let's start by painting a picture. Imagine the Roman Empire at its peak in the 2nd century AD. It's sprawling across vast territories, encompassing areas from the British Isles to the sun-soaked sands of Africa and into the heart of Asia. Have you ever thought about the remarkable military strength and cultural richness of this civilization? The Romans were skilled engineers, builders, and warriors, all thriving under the Pax Romana, a time of peace that promoted economic growth and cultural exchanges. It was a golden age, but as we know, nothing lasts forever. The cracks in the foundation. But here's where it gets interesting. While the empire seems invincible, cracks started to appear beneath the surface, particularly as it expanded. Think about it. How can an empire maintain its grip on such vast lands and diverse societies? The answer lies in economic reliance on agriculture and trade. Leaders were raking in wealth from conquered lands, but over time, this model began showing signs of strain. Slave labor, a double-edged sword. One major issue was the heavy reliance on slave labor. Initially, the influx of slaves from conquests fueled the economy and kept industries running. However, as Rome stopped expanding its borders and new conquests declined, those slaves became a costly anchor, stifling innovation. If you want to picture how damaging that was, consider this. Without incentives to innovate in farming or industry, the economy stagnated. Over time, that dependence proved more harmful than beneficial. This plus the currency crisis took its toll. Imagine you're living in ancient Rome and suddenly the coins you're using feel less valuable. That's because emperors started debasing the currency, reducing the silver content in coins to fund military expenses amidst growing unrest. This led to rampant inflation, causing prices to skyrocket and shaking public confidence. People began to feel the pinch, resulting in some serious unrest. Now comes the issues with the economy's trade. As the wealthier eastern provinces started becoming more and more self-sufficient, they diverted trade away from Rome. Meanwhile, luxury goods from the east drained resources, leaving the empire strapped for essential supplies. Picture a massive economy shrinking and facing shortages. It was a recipe for chaos. Amongst the chaos, social discontent brews. With all these economic troubles, it's no surprise that social discontent began to bubble up. The disparity between the rich and the common people grew. While the elite enjoyed opulent lifestyles, everyday citizens struggled with food shortages and skyrocketing taxes. This disconnect led to strikes and protests, giving more weight to the notion that the empire was slowly unraveling. Now let's pivot to Rome's military struggles. To protect its immense borders, the empire maintained a large military force. But as pressures mounted, several factors combined to weaken Rome's military might. The Battle of Adrianople in 378 AD became a significant turning point for the empire. Emperor Valens led a Roman army against the Visigoths, who sought refuge within the empire's borders, but were met with underestimation from Valens. When the dust settled, it ended in a crushing defeat for the Romans. This wasn't just a battle lost, it was a signal that the once mighty forces of Rome were faltering, and the Visigoths began establishing settlements within the empire. Like most empires, loyalty was in question. Another challenge arose as Rome turned increasingly to mercenaries, soldiers who fought for money rather than loyalty to the empire. Picture a soldier fighting for cash without allegiance to the land he defends. This lack of fidelity caused severe rifts within the military ranks, leading to further complications in addressing internal and external threats. The internal strife was shaking the foundations of Rome even more. The 3rd century AD was marked by civil wars, where ambitious generals became rivals for the throne. A once cohesive empire crumbling under the weight of leaders constantly fighting one another for supremacy. With their attention diverted, outside threats exacerbated the empire's instability. Thus became the crisis of the 3rd century. This tumultuous period is often referred to as the crisis of the 3rd century. Between 235 and 284 AD, no less than 26 different claimants took the throne, all battling it out for power. Fast forward to the rise of Emperor Constantine the Great, who managed to introduce some reforms, yet the damage inflicted during those chaotic years left a deep scar on the empire. Fast forwarding over 100 years, let's not forget one of the most startling events, the sacking of Rome in 410 AD. The Visigoths, under their leader Alaric I, marched into the city and wreaked havoc. No one would have pictured the once mighty capital of the Roman Empire left in ruins. Rome had stood as the pinnacle of power, but this sacking highlighted just how vulnerable the city and the empire had become. Political chaos and ineffectiveness had taken over. Now political strife was simultaneously tearing the empire apart. The rapid turnover of emperors fueled chaos and undermined authority. It's like trying to steer a ship with a constantly changing crew, all intent on their own agendas. Those in power were often assassinated or incapable of asserting control, leading to a governance system that had grown weak and fragmented. Which led to decentralization, the rise of regionalism. The empire also began to experience decentralization. The regions within the empire started to act more like independent states. Even within the larger framework of the empire, local governors often prioritized personal interests over loyalty to Rome. The conflict between eastern and western provinces only intensified this tendency, drawing valuable resources and attention away from where they were needed most. Eastern Rome became a different story. While all of this chaos was unfolding, it's worth noting that the Eastern Roman Empire, what we call the Byzantine Empire, was adapting rather well. Emperor Diocletian introduced various reforms that divided the empire into smaller, more manageable units. By partnering with co-emperors to keep things running smoothly, they were able to stave off some of the chaos gripping the West. Constantine's reign was marked by profound changes that boosted the Eastern Empire's resilience. From administrative reforms to military restructuring, he created a stronger foundation. He even established Constantinople as the new capital. And can you imagine how advantageous that was? A fortified city surrounded by water became the beating heart of the empire for centuries. Now comes the threats from others, the rise of the Huns. Let's shift our focus to some of the external influences. The Huns, led by the notorious Attila, began to invade and conquer regions across Europe. They were a force to be reckoned with, and their invasions sent shockwaves through the empire. Even at the Battle of the Catalonian Plains in 451 AD, where the Romans managed to hold the Huns off, the damage to military resources was significant. The Vandals joined the fray. Things were about to get worse. With the Vandals invading and causing chaos in North Africa, the empire began severing crucial grain supplies. Can you envision a city so dependent on imported food suddenly facing a major shortage? The Vandals sacked Rome in 455 AD. The city was now a shadow of its former self, and the Roman Empire found itself fighting to maintain control. The last emperor, Romulus Augustulus. Fast forward to 476 AD, when Romulus Augustulus, the last Roman emperor of the West, faced his demise. Imagine a young emperor booted from the throne by the Germanic chieftain Odoacer. This moment, marked by the symbolic sending of imperial regalia to the Eastern Emperor, has come to represent the end of the Western Roman Empire. This initiated a cultural and religious shift. So what happened next? As the dust settled and blades laid down, the cultural and religious landscape of Rome transformed dramatically. The rise of Christianity, particularly after Emperor Constantine legalized it, shifted the very fabric of society. It's fascinating to consider how a religion that once faced persecution came to dominate, reshaping values and governance in the process. As Christianity flourished, the Church emerged as a powerful entity. It became a stabilizing influence, providing a moral framework in a time of crisis. The leaders within the Church began to wield authority that sometimes rivaled that of emperors, showcasing a new dynamic in governance. The balance of power was shifting, and the echoes of ancient Rome were morphing into something new. In conclusion, the fall of the Roman Empire is not merely a tale of lost glory. It's a profound narrative that speaks to the complexities of power, governance, and human ambition. Understanding the interplay of economic troubles, military challenges, and political chaos helps illuminate lessons still relevant today, making ancient Rome a lasting legacy. Even after the fall of the Western Roman Empire, the legacies of governance, law, architecture, and culture endured, evolving within the framework of new civilizations. Imagine walking through medieval cities where remnants of Roman engineering and law influenced daily life. The story of Rome continues to captivate us all, serving reminders about the intricacies and fragility of human achievement.